Kia ora folks, welcome to the fucking Woo Woo podcast. My name's Tommy. I'm a therapist, musician, a father, and a medicine person. This podcast is about the different ways in which I struggle and with life and being human, and some of the solutions I come up with to help me get through. Today I want to talk about letting go. I've literally just come, it's 4 a.m. or something. I've literally just come, no, it's probably 5 by now. No, 4:50. I've just come from a walk. I've been out in the woods, and I have just, what I did is I got a piece of paper and I wrote down a whole bunch of different aspects of the relationship that I'm just separating from. And I wrote on that paper my attachment to this person, my expectations of this person, my grief about this person, my hopes and dreams for the future with this person, all these different aspects, all these different facets of the way I relate to this person, my anxiety around this breakup, my anticipation of future contact, like all these different things, I didn't write down all her qualities. I didn't write down all the beautiful things about our relationship. And I didn't write down, the aspects of her that, I might judge need some might be some key growth areas. I didn't write down that stuff. I just wrote down my relationship to this relationship, my relationship to this person. And, as I walked out into the woods, I said a karakia and a prayer, and I checked in with the different parts of myself to see who inside of me had the most resistance. Was it the vulnerable child? Was it the addict? Was it this very gentle kind of pre-verbal aspect of me I call Sophia? Was it this diva bitch I call Cleopatra? Was it this aspect of self I call the father? But it's never the father. Was it me? Was it me, Tommy? Was it the beast? What different part of me was having this experience? And of anxiety, because the anxiety was growing. Like as I was walking, saying this karakia, that anxiety was bubbling and bubbling away. And I assumed it was the vulnerable child. However, the vulnerable child was saying, I've kind of done my work. I'm ready to let this go. Now, I want to be honest with you guys. I didn't do this because I felt I'd had some epiphany where I was now ready. It's just as I was driving into town yesterday for my private practice in Wellington City, I realized I didn't even want to let go. I became aware that I actually didn't want to let go of this person. And that's fucking weird. Like I've been doing all this work and doing all this processing, and I've been in state of anxiety and insomnia and grief for fucking 5 weeks. Like, surely I want to let go. And I caught this thought. It was just a sneaky little thought, like somewhere. It wasn't even a conscious thought. It was more like an awareness of some driver or impulse. And I was like, what was it? And I'd sort of reverse engineered it, or tried to find, if I'm thinking this, what's that based on? And it was the premise on which something was based that allowed me to see that I had this thought of, I don't want to let go of her. And I was like, why the fuck not? This has been, like, I can honestly say I'm more grateful for this last month than any other month in my life, but it's definitely been the most challenging, and I'm ready for it to fucking have been done. And and I'm like, how are you not ready to let go yet? And it was beautiful. It came out so easily. It said, because if I let go of this pain, I might lose my chance to get her back. I was like, oh, sweetie. You still want her back. You still want this relationship back, or the chance to get it back. It's like, yeah. And I said, well, let me tell you something. She's about to go away for a year or 2 or 3 or 10. She's leaving to go overseas. I'm potentially never going to see her again, but definitely not going to see her for a year or years. If you spend the next, year to 10 years in a state of deep grief, anxiety, and insomnia, I promise you that when she gets back, you will not be in a state where you have maximized your potential chance to get back together with her. If you spend the next 1 to 10 years like that, you are absolutely decreasing any chance you have of her being excited by the proposition of dating you again. And then I said, and this is the deeper truth, and the deeper truth is, the real reward for letting go is not that it puts you in a better state in 1 to 10 years to get back together with her. The real reward for letting go is you get to be free. You get to be free. You know? And so I said, okay, I'm going to do a ritual then. I'm going to do a ritual. And so I went on this walk, and this anxiety's bubbling in my stomach, and I'm checking in to see which part of me's kind of got the most resistance. And I find, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's like, I'd almost call it like the ego, even though I don't, like I literally said in a podcast to you, and it's true, I don't use that term very much. This was like, it kind of felt like ego, but not in the sense of arrogance, like in terms of just a different type of vulnerability, like neediness. It was like pure neediness. It was different to the vulnerable child. It was just, I don't want to let her go. I'm too scared. You know, I love her. I miss her. I don't want to risk losing her. I'm not ready yet. La la la. And I said, well, look. I said, look, love. Here's the thing. We don't have to do this today, but if we do it, I want you to do it. No, I can't do it. It's like, no, listen to me. I'm not telling you I'm going to make you do it, sweetie. I'm not going to make you do anything. I said, if we do this today, it's going to be you that chooses. I said, I fucking do want to do it, but I'm just scared. I'm so scared. So I understand that. And I talked about some of the rational reasons why it was good for us, and this part of me could see that clearly. And I said, so it's up to you now. I got to a place where I wanted to light this page on fire and do my final farewells and stuff. I said, we're handing the idea of this person and this relationship and all the little tendrils inside my brain. Every single neurological pathway in my brain at the moment has some attachment to her and to us, and to a projected future of us. I said, we're handing her care. If we do this, it doesn't mean we stop loving her. It doesn't mean we stop missing her. He said, I'm scared I'm going to get it wrong. I'm not going to do it perfect. I said, oh, honey, you don't have to get it right. You don't have to do it perfect. You don't have to do some magical thing right now and you'll never cry for her again, or you'll never miss her again. Or if I feel anxiety at some point, today, I've fucked it up and I didn't do a good enough karakia, I didn't do a good enough ritual. Like, no, that's not what this is about. It's about you, finding you and me, and you making a choice for yourself about what you want. You get to choose this time. What would you like, my friend? I'd like to be free. Okay, well, I'm going to stop talking now and you say the words. And he came through in that voice I've just been using, just been showing you. I love you, sweetie. I'm so sorry for the mistakes I made. I'm so sorry for the times I didn't see you. I'm so sorry for the times when my needs blinded me from loving you. I hand you over to the care of consciousness, the Great Spirit, to look after you now. I hand over my attachment, my anxiety, my, hopes and dreams for us. I hand it all over. I let it all go into the care of consciousness and the care of spirit. And a lot more words than that. But it only took a minute. And we lit this piece of paper on fire, and I burnt my finger a little bit. It's all right. Sometimes a little bit of pain can help. And we let her go. And we let our relationship go. And I said as I was walking back, what the fuck am I going to do now with all this time? What am I going to do now with all this time and energy? Now the truth is, folks, you can do a ritual like that. But if you don't follow up with, I think, fairly consistent action, it might not have the desired effect. If you want to let go of something, there's a pretty tried and true method. And it comes from 12-step fellowships like Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. And this is a technique I've been using my whole life and something I share with clients a lot. And I might repeat it on this podcast at some point because I think it's valuable. And though there's a myriad of different ways to achieve this same thing through different spiritual practices, and even 12-step fellowships themselves have a bunch of different techniques to achieve the same thing, I'm going to use a technique which I think is more popular in one particular fellowship, which I won't name, than perhaps some of the other fellowships might not have the same saying. The statement, the sentence is the name of this technique. And I've kind of fleshed it out. It's not written down anywhere with all these different aspects that I'm going to talk about. There's really only 2 aspects, but the title of it comes from the 12-step fellowships, and the rest of it just comes from common sense and other, you know. I'm not trying to say, I didn't make any of this shit up. Nothing I say to you have I made up, right? Like, I'm not fucking original thought. At this point in time, in 2024, if you're saying something, some other motherfucker has said it, right? Like 100 million times already. You know, it's already on 20,000 other podcasts. Nothing here is original. I haven't seen it written down this way or explained this way. This is my personal take on it, but it's probably exactly the same as a million other dudes' personal take on it, right? Anyway, so the saying from the 12-step fellowship is don't entertain the thought. Don't entertain the thought. Just remember those, what's that? Is that 3 words or 4? Don't entertain the thought. 4 words. Don't entertain the thought. And what that means is that the thought to drink alcohol, the thought to take drugs, when you first give up, it's going to come knocking on your door 100 times. 100 fucking times that thought is going to arise. I want to drink. I want to get high. I want to drink. I want to get high. 100 times a day. Now, if that thought lasts for 1 second, that's 100 seconds of your day taken up with the thought to get high. Now, we can all resist 100 seconds of temptation. It's difficult in the early days when you don't have much fucking inner strength, but 100 seconds, we can pretty much resist 100 seconds. If every time that thought comes knocking at your door, you go, who's that knocking at my door? Oh, hello, come in. And they say, hello, use drugs. And you go, that's an interesting idea. Tell me more about this concept. Tell me more about this brand new idea. That sounds very interesting. And you spend like 10 minutes entertaining the thought. Again, entertain the thought. If you spend 10 minutes entertaining the thought, that's 100 times a day, 10 minutes. That's 1,000 minutes. 1,000 minutes in your day. Is there 1,000 minutes in a day? 60 times 24? Clearly math's not my thing, right? 1,000 minutes in a day, that's too much time. Everyone's going down to the bottle store or the fucking dealer with 1,000 fucking thoughts. Like that. 1,000 minutes of thinking of, I want to get high. So don't entertain the thought means you don't entertain the fucking thought. It comes knocking, you say, fuck off. Not today, sir. You know, nobody's home. Do not knock on my fucking door again. You know what I mean? Like, you don't let it in. You don't let it in. So, obviously that's easier said than done, right? Because especially someone who's trying to give up, you know, this horrible anxiety, this horrible grief, or this fucking drug addiction, if it was as simple as just going, I'm not going to think about you, everyone would do that and no one would be fucking addicted to anything. You know, the truth is the thought comes in, and it's not like when the thought comes in, it's sneaky, man. It doesn't come in wearing it doesn't have a pitchfork and fucking pointed horns and a spiky tail. It comes dressed fucking flash, man. It comes like it's a brand new idea you've never heard of. So, no, wait a minute. No. Look, you got me all wrong. I'm not going to talk about drugs today. I'm not here to convince you to get high. I'm just here to say to you that if you just really go with your inspiration, if you really go with your heart, you can achieve anything. So you can achieve anything, like including social use. So you may as well just practice social use now to prove to yourself that you can do it. Like, it is cunning as fuck. It'll come up with all sorts of weird reasons why getting high or gambling or fucking whatever the thing your thing is a really smart idea. So it's not as simple as when it comes knocking at the door, you go, not interested, and it goes away. You have to actively do something. So I've got 2 steps that I suggest. The first is hand it over. That could be for you, if you believe in something spiritual, you could do a karakia, you could do a prayer, and you could say, I hand this thought over. You could say, Great Spirit, please take this thought away from me. Consciousness, Ayor, please take this thought away from me. You know, Jesus, Krishna, Buddha, you know, Zoroaster, take this thought away from me. That could be the start. If you are atheist or agnostic, you could just say, I hand this thought over. I let this thought go, you know. I think some ritual around that, of either prayer or just letting go, is the first step. I think that's a good first step. But without the second step, it's a waste of fucking time. What's that saying? It's like, ask Muhammad to move the mountain, but start digging. Or pray to God, but get rowing. Something like that, right? Like, it's like prayers, words without deeds are nothing, or something like that, you know. So you hand it over, you let it go, or you pray for the thought to be taken away. And if you're in a 12-step fellowship, you might start with the first step, which is I'm powerless over my addiction. So you might say, you know, are your consciousness, I'm powerless over this thought, I hand this thought over to you. That's kind of like the first 3 steps of the 12 steps, all in one sentence. I'm powerless over this thought, I hand this thought over to you. And then the second part of this thing is you have to distract yourself. You have to actively distract yourself. You can't just hand the thought over and then sit there. Because fucking, if you just sit there, like, you know, I want to use drugs, I hand this thought over. You are going to just, like, there's just a vacuum, right? There's just space. Here's the thing. These thoughts, they are default thoughts. For me at the moment, this grief, this story of this grief, it's a default thought. It's what comes rushing in as soon as there's a space in my brain. It is filled with this story of grief and letting go. And so with these thoughts, with this space in the mind, because I've now handed this thought over, you need to fill that space immediately. I am now going to think, you know, I hand this thought over, now I'm going to think about quantum physics. I hand this thought over, now I'm going to remember my favorite colors when I was a child. I hand this thought over, now I'm going to count every red object in this on this bus ride that I'm on. I hand this thought over, now I'm going to think about how to be the best parent I can be tonight. I hand this thought over, you know, but you have to actively distract yourself immediately. You can't just hand the thought over and just sit there not thinking, because you don't not think. The human brain generates as many thoughts as the human heart generates heartbeats. It's constantly going. There's someone's recorded it. It was like 30,000 thoughts a day or something for the average human mind. So and if you're a drug addict trying to get clean, or you've got a broken heart and you're trying to hand over a romance, every one of those fucking 30,000 thoughts is going to be about getting high or about this lost love, you know? So that's the technique. Here's the thing. What I realized the other day when I was thinking about this technique, and I was thinking, oh man, I can't believe I still have to use this technique, you know, like after all these years, I haven't elevated myself to some higher spiritual stature where I don't have to repeat these basic 101 level psychology fucking tools. You know, how am I not a grandmaster yet? Why am I not up there with Ram Dass yet? You know what I mean? Like beating myself up for not being, you know, beating myself up for still at the ripe old age of 44, still having to do the curriculum, you know? And it was like, you know what, bro? The fact that you might have to practice this technique multiple times a day, that's not a bad thing. Because you know what you do every single time you have one of those thoughts and you practice this technique? You actually increase your spiritual muscle. You actually increase your mental and emotional muscle. You actually get stronger. So actually, instead of it being like, oh fuck, I've had to hand the thought over 20 times today, or I've had to hand the thought over 100 times today, that being a sign of your weakness. It's like every time that thought comes in and you practice this technique, you're getting stronger. Every single time, it's like an opportunity that you wouldn't normally have to just build emotional muscle. I was like, it's actually better. The more times that thought comes, it's like, oh, welcome. I've got a fucking technique for you. I'm going to fucking pump a little bit of iron with my fucking heart and my soul and my mind. It's like, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. What is a bad thing, just so you know, is being fucking bullied and agonized by these thoughts for hours at a time. Because I tell you what, man, I tried to give up drugs like fucking 10 times before I finally got sober. 10, like 3 different rehabs and like, yeah, maybe 7 different stints in a 12-step fellowship, which I won't say which one, before I finally got clean and sober and stayed that way for 20 years. And I wasn't just thinking about these thoughts for 1 minute or 10 minutes. These thoughts would bully me nonstop for an hour or 10 hours. So yeah, so I've done this ritual, I've done this handing over, and now when the thoughts come in, my ego wants to let you guys know, my ego really wants to let you guys know that I haven't needed this tool as much this time around, and I don't anticipate myself relying on this tool as heavily now, because I have had because I am not, look, I think there's an insecurity arising in me. I said my ego, but it might not be that. It might be a fear that I'm not being completely honest about where I'm at with this stuff, in terms of not that I'm at a worse place or a more aggressive place, but I'm actually in a more okay place. And yet I don't know why I'm feeling the need to say that to you guys, because the truth is I am planning on using this technique, and I will be using it. For me, the processing I've been done around, I guess some part of me wants to be authentic and say the truth is a lot of the processing I've been doing around this and thinking I've been doing around this has been really healthy, and the process I've been in has been perfect. And I haven't used this technique much in the last few weeks because I've needed to continue to go over this material in different ways and in strengths-based ways. The truth is 2 days ago, I should have used this technique and I didn't. And moving forward for the next 2 or 3 days, I intend to use it intensively just to rewire some of those neurological pathways, just to get a break from this content being so dominant. So it is genuine. I am going to use this for the next few days. And yeah, let me just leave it at that. Anyway, there's one other thing I do. I'll just mention this, because what I'm talking about is how you deal with the mental aspect. So there's an emotional aspect too. In terms of the emotional aspect, it's a much simpler technique. There's a few different things you can breathe into the body and all this stuff, but what I do is I locate where is the energy in the body when I'm having this. This thought causes emotions for sure, and maybe emotions aren't always felt in the body, but there's some aspect of them that normally is. Do I feel this in my heart? Do I feel this in my throat? Do I feel this in my back of my neck and my shoulders and my stomach? Often for me, anxiety is in the stomach. And so what I do is I feel the feeling, close my eyes, feel the feeling, and just allow myself to be aware of how that feels. The full range of experience of that feeling in my body, wherever it is. And sometimes that is enough in itself, and it just dissipates. And sometimes if it doesn't dissipate after 30 seconds or so, I'll just send it love. I'll send it love, and then I'll do the thought technique. So I go to the feeling first in the body, do the feeling technique, and then I do the thought technique. Anyway, it's time for a freestyle. Okay. Let me pull that down a little bit. You were the first one, babe, with the light shade and the nice line. The first one, babe, with the booty. There lives, babe, with the first one, babe. And you told me I love you, man. You told me you're beautiful, you told me, man. You're handsome, son. You a beautiful one, yeah. I got my mind stretched open by the clouds. Elijah, give me a vow, help me down. I like the paper now, hand it over to you somehow. Touch the ground, sparks fly in the nighttime. Send my car key of pride to the lifeline. Holding back for the star sign, open up the moon, Marama, give me a lifeline, tell me now, how am I gonna get through when I don't know what's about? Life, cloud and judgment, feel this thunder coming through the night sky, and we'll all rise. Wanna get out of this mind of mine, tonight sometime, yeah. You hold me, babe. You told me, babe, you love me. You hold me, babe. And you told me, babe, you love me. You hold me, babe. And you told me, babe, that you love me. Yeah, you hold me, babe. And you told me that you love me, babe. Hey, I don't have a Patreon or anything, but be a big, big favor to me. If you like this podcast, you can share it with your friends. I appreciate it a lot.